Inside most churches on the Sunday before Easter, the atmosphere is peaceful and celebratory. Children carry fronds, and the community gathers to participate in the tradition of weaving palm crosses to mark the start of Holy Week. But if we strip away 2,000 years of safe, sanitized tradition, we arrive at a much more volatile reality in first-century Jerusalem. Beneath the familiar church pageant lies a calculated act of political theater, specifically designed to challenge the authority of an occupying empire. To understand the danger, we have to look at the timing. Jerusalem was currently overflowing with hundreds of thousands of religious pilgrims for the Passover festival, a holiday that celebrates Jewish liberation from a past empire. The Roman occupiers understood the risks. To maintain order, maintaining military command deployed extra troops from their headquarters at Caesarea Maritima, placing the entire city under heavy surveillance. At the same time, the Jewish pilgrims were fueled by 4 centuries of anticipation. They were waiting for a prophesied warrior Messiah who would lead a violent uprising to physically drive the Romans out of their land. Approaching this tent city was Jesus of Nazareth. He was a popular figure who had built a massive following through his teaching and his reported miracles, including the recent raising of a man named Lazarus from the dead. The Roman garrison was prepared for a revolt, and the pilgrims were prepared for a war. The city was a powder keg, and the crowd was looking for a leader to strike the match. Jesus orchestrates his entry into the city with extreme precision, but explicitly rejects the typical arrival of a conquering king. Traditionally, a military victor entered a city on a majestic war horse to project strength and domination. Instead, Jesus chooses to ride a lowly donkey. In the ancient Middle East, this choice was a specific cultural code. While a horse meant war, a king riding a donkey signaled that he was arriving in peace. By choosing this mount, Jesus was visually enacting the prophecy of Zechariah 9:9, which described a humble king who would remove the chariots and war horses to proclaim peace to the nations. This wasn't a mistake or a matter of convenience. It was a direct refutation of the violent, sword-wielding Messiah the crowd expected. Despite this peaceful messaging, the crowd treats him like a royal victor anyway. They lay their cloaks on the road as a sign of submission and wave palm branches, a Greco-Roman symbol for military triumph. They shout Hosanna, a literal and urgent plea that translates to "Save us now." Despite thousands of people publicly declaring a new king of the Jews, the Roman garrison did not march out to arrest and execute him on the spot. As Jesus entered from the east, Roman Governor Pontius Pilate was simultaneously leading a heavily armed military column into the city from the west. Crossing through the volatile crowds of pilgrims to reach the eastern gate would have certainly sparked a catastrophic riot. Jesus successfully exploited a tactical blind spot. He operated completely outside of the Roman definition of what power and threat looked like. While the triumphal entry was a success in terms of its messaging, the audience in the streets ultimately rejected that message. Within a few days, the mood of the city shifted. The crowd realized Jesus had no intention of leading a physical campaign against the Roman occupiers. Their bitter disappointment quickly turned to anger. The cheers of Palm Sunday were replaced by demands for crucifixion that defined the end of the week. It was the crowd's rejection of a peaceful king in favor of a warlord that led directly to his death on the cross. Although the procession ended at an execution, it succeeded in establishing a new narrative, a kingdom built on humility and service rather than physical domination. This historical event was eventually codified into the global traditions practiced by modern churches today to initiate Holy Week. Once blessed, these branches become sacramentals, sacred objects meant to draw the faithful closer to God. This religious status is why they are never discarded in the trash. Instead, they are treated with the same reverence as any other holy item. The tradition follows a literal cycle. These blessed palms are saved by the church and eventually burned to create the ashes for the following year's Ash Wednesday. These burned palms serve as a physical reminder of the original subversive parade, that true power arrives through sacrifice, not the strength of a war horse.